What's up, race fans? It is Monday, August 26th, and this is the official podcast of the Orange County Fair Speedway. It's called Talkin' Dirty with Jake, and I'm your host, Jake. Let's start the show. So, I have an interview with Matt Williamson for you guys tonight, our winner of the $100,000 Centennial Race Weekend big race. So it's long awaited to hear from Matt, I'm sure. So I'm eager to just get to the interview. Real quick, before we do that, I just want to touch on Champions Night, which has just been announced as being a $1 general admission night for all fans. So that means $1 general admission. Drive-in, that's general admission, that's $1. Grandstands, that's general admission, that's $1. Okay, right now, there's one little issue, and that's that if you buy your tickets online ahead of time, and you already have or plan to buy your tickets online for this event, they are still priced at regular $20. So, don't buy your tickets online. We're looking at having it taken off of Ticketmaster. In the meantime, just be aware, if you buy your tickets online, they are regular price. So just don't do it. Buy your tickets at the gate on Saturday, September 7th, Champions Night at Orange County Fair Speedway. $1. All right, let's talk to Matt. Here we go.
So, Matt, I'm not super familiar with you personally. You're not a regular competitor at Orange County, and I do not get out much. So why don't we start the interview off with just a couple of getting-to-know-you questions. Where you're from, sure. Where you race typically, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no problem at all. Obviously I race at Merrittville on Saturday nights, Ransomville on Friday nights. We were hitting up Utica Rome there for a little bit and stopped doing that after 2 or 3 weeks just because it got to be so much. I'm from St. Catharines, Ontario, close to Niagara Falls. That's pretty much it. We do the Super Dirt Series with Chris Chuka and the Orange County big races with Jeff Barrett with the number 3, and all the short track Super Series with Jeff too.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's your short track Super Series ride and Orange County ride, and that's owned by Jeff Barrett. You actually have a different ride for the Super Dirt Series. Correct.
Yep. Yeah, we race with the Buzzsaw Chevrolet 88 on the Super Dirt Series.
Okay, cool. And so your whole operation there is out of Canada?
Yeah, my own operation. Yes, yeah. We raced last night in Cornwall. We're just going over the motor right now before we head to Ransomville, and then I'm going over there. I'm going to race for Johnny Coco and Paul Went, Pete Coco. That's my Friday night car that we ran at the small block race at Orange County as well.
Cool. So I guess we're a lower New York track in comparison to most. I think we're probably the southernmost track in New York State. So I guess, for our fans, what would be kind of the biggest difference you notice between like New York State racing and racing up in Canada?
There's not really much, to be honest with you.
No?
Obviously, the big races and such, like the race that was on the weekend, and Oswego and Charlotte, they get more fans than a regular Saturday night race. But there's not much difference that I noticed between a regular night and just going to Orange County for their big race.
You don't have to know French to understand the race directors up there?
No.
Okay.
You don't have to know French. No.
I've heard on Race Monitor sometimes they'll have Canadian tracks on there, and sometimes you can listen to radios, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I can't really understand what's going on here.
Yeah,
they were speaking in French.
I don't know how to speak French, so it's a good thing.
Okay, cool, yeah. I wondered about that. I'm like, I guess everybody's just got to be bilingual when you're racing at a French Canadian track, huh?
Right. Yeah. There is some places, like if you go on a small block series race up there, there's some times where they'll speak French on the radio, like the racing radio, but for the most part, it's all English.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I doubt I'll ever, get up to a race up in Canada anytime soon. So this is weird.
Yeah.
I wonder about,
Yep. No, I understand for sure.
So, I've seen you at Orange County in the past for like Eastern States and short track Super Series events. But this was your first experience on the new surface, right?
Yeah. Yep. This is the first time we raced on that new surface.
And how did you find it? I mean, similar to other tracks you've driven, or completely different, or?
I thought it was really good, to be honest with you. Hats off to Jeremy Corcoran. We've had some familiarities with him by racing Canandaigua every Saturday night for a couple of years. And Jeremy actually promoted Canandaigua at the time. He's, very, very good when it comes to racetracks. I mean, Chris Larson, thought out to the best guy to get it done, and Jeremy obviously was the guy to do it. So hats off to him. I don't think there was a bump in the racetrack all weekend. But yeah, it was pretty amazing. I was very impressed with the way the racetrack was.
So when you guys are doing these extra distance races, you typically have two-way radios and a spotter involved, right?
Some of them we do and some of them we don't. Like, for example, we raced a 150-lap race last night at Cornwall and didn't have any two-way radios.
No two-way radios. Were you utilizing them at the Centennial Race weekend?
Yes, we were. We were allowed to run two-way radios. And the race at Cornwall, it wasn't that we didn't want to use two-way radios. It just it was one of the rules in the rule book that you're not allowed to use two-way radios. A lot of times we have to do that because people say that radio racing is boring, and it changes kind of the aspect of dirt racing. So that's why they do that.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that leading to the question I'm trying to lead to here is, like, when you're out on the track, specifically over the weekend in the big 100K race, you guys don't have like 3 mirrors like I do in my street car, right? So you're kind of relying on feedback from other people, your spotter, and what's going on around you, right? Correct.
Yeah, it gets nerve-wracking when you're leading a race like the race in Orange County, obviously, with $100,000 on the line.
Right. Right.
So
yeah, I guess my point is you were leading the majority of the race, so there really wasn't much for you to see personally. All the action was happening behind you. And so I guess, how aware are you of all the kind of battles that are occurring for second place, third place, fourth place? I mean, you're probably just blind to all that hammering down, right?
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah, that's the easy way to put it. We my spotter, Doug Reiser, and Jeff was in the pit area. They tried to relay as much information to me as they could. When Stewie was out there hitting the cushion, Jeff was yelling at me to get to the top. And I thought we were doing as good as we could on the top. And then I watched the video and seen Stewie banging off the wall, driving as hard as he could to try and win. So I probably could have went a little harder. And that's kind of the disadvantage of leading a race like that,
Right. So was somebody in your ear being like, Stewie's coming like a bat out of hell behind you. Get on it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I had to wonder as I was watching it, are you in the zone and are you just like completely unaware of him just going like an animal right behind you, or do you know, and is that kind of pushing you forward even more,
Yeah, right. No, I was informed of that, so it's kind of takes the nerves away from it, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's always like, and I know on a regular distance race you don't have a two-way radio, so you're basically, what are you doing when you're out there? Are you looking left, right? Are you stretching that neck around as much to look around you, or are you kind of just focused on your own line and sticking to it? Right.
Yeah, we were trying to, focus on what we were doing. But fortunately, I did have good spotters behind me to relay the information and make my job a little easier.
I always kind of interested in that because, like I said, we don't normally, there's very few opportunities to have spotters, twice a year. This year, usually only once a year with Eastern States. So it's not something that it's not something we talk about a lot. So it's kind of cool to kind of get some insight into how that works and stuff.
Yeah. For sure.
Obviously, I didn't say it at the top. I'm sure everybody listening knows you were the big winner for the 160-lap, $100,000 to win Centennial Race Weekend race on Saturday. I'm sure it's like kind of a vague question, but man, how does that feel?
It's pretty amazing. It really hasn't sunk in. I'll be honest with you. My whole life is doing a big race like this, whether it be Oswego or, Syracuse back in the day. They took that chance away from me, and this kind of makes up for that. To be able to win a race like this is huge.
Yeah, I guess right. That used to be the kind of the biggest claim to fame, right? Is like winning at Syracuse. But like this event is a one-off, never to be replicated. It's basically the biggest bragging rights, right? No one can really match this win. You got it, the one and only.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, you said it exactly right.
Yeah.
That's it's the one. There's only one year race that we're ever going to be alive for, or that I'm ever going to be alive for, and for us to be able to get it done was pretty cool. So
it's almost impossible at this point to say anything about what happened last weekend without somebody wanting to address the controversy, what happened with the rain and the call being made that people could work on their cars and get their spots back. Was this something that, were you, as you were stopped waiting, were you aware of everything that was going on? And did you have feelings about what was happening, or was it kind of just...
I went over to where the discussion was. They called the drivers' meeting. I was actually I was in the bathroom when they called the drivers' meeting, and we went over, and there was chaos right from the start, and there was the drivers that obviously thought they were getting the short end of the stick, and there was some fans there that were screaming and yelling and getting everybody riled up, and it wasn't a good look for the modified division the way that it was going down. Nobody really had respect for one another, and that was kind of sad to see. But fortunately, I think they worked it out the fairest way possible. In all sports, it's tough to football. They're going to make wrong calls. Hockey, they're going to make wrong calls, and in all sports, none of the officials have ever been perfect to the point where they've never made a mistake. And I think, if anything, Orange County probably should have looked at the weather a little bit more than what they did. But that's easy to say now. At the point, they wanted to get the race under, and if it would have sprinkled for the first 10 laps and then the rain went away, they would have looked like heroes for getting all the fans out of there 2 hours early. When the race starts out on the track's getting run in, and nobody really knows any difference. Obviously, with the rain coming down harder than what they expected. That threw them a curveball, I would say. But it's just it's unfortunate for the Hallmark team and Chris Larson and Mike Gerda and Mike Sachelli that there is such a black eye for this one race, because I think the race that they put on was pretty amazing, and I don't think Chris Larson has to do this. So I got to thank him for that. Like I said, I think that they did ultimately the fairest thing in the end, and obviously there's some people that are upset about it, but that's life. Not everybody's going to be happy about it.
Right. And now, obviously, I don't think, from a competitor's perspective, and I'm sure it's hard for you to comment, not being involved in the incident and being the race winner, but it didn't feel like there was any kind of favoritism happening, that this didn't come from a place of trying to hook anybody up, that it came from a place of just trying to make things as fair as possible for everybody.
You said it right. That's exactly the easiest, probably the best way to say it. I don't think that what they were trying to do was hinder anybody's chances on winning. Obviously, that they didn't have a plan to, make it rain on lap 12 and take out this guy or this guy. I mean, I don't think that, you know, if you do think that way, I think you need to get your head checked, you know. So they had a tough deal that they had to go through, and in the end, I mean, like I said, there's going to be some people that are upset, and there's going to be some people that are happy, and I think that they just did the fairest thing for everybody to make it through.
Yeah, and it is what it is, and I appreciate all the people that are looking at it and saying, you know what, despite everything, it was still an incredible race. And you know, I mean, I was there, and I can say for sure it was an incredible race. But these things happen, and you know, controversies happen, and like you said, no human official is perfect, and you know, without making mistakes. And I think, you know, something like so much as racing is controlled by technology anyway. I mean, you know, it's not like the flagger is running the whole show like it used to be, and he's counting laps and he's keeping an eye out for everything. You know, and a lot of this is digitally scored and timed, and you could always lean further into that. You know, I remember years ago they talked about putting sensors in goals in soccer and hockey and eliminating, you know, the ref making the call of whether or not it crossed the line, and just saying, boom, you know, here's the sensor, and it'll tell you whether or not it did. And a lot of people kind of felt weird about that and felt like maybe it removed part of the sport that was traditional and always part of it. You know, the human error could always be a factor.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly right.
It is what it is. Well, moving on from that, you know, I think, you know, whether or not, I think everybody went into this race, every driver, right? We had 69 modifieds, you know, and I think a lot of people had their predictions. You know, a lot of people, you know, it's pretty clear who's winning a lot of races right now. But I felt like every guy going into this race had a pretty decent shot at winning, right?
You don't go there to finish
right.
third, you know. Obviously, Matt and Stu are at the top right now, but we didn't go there knowing that we were going to finish third to them. Guys, we don't look at this third place payoff. You know, you look at it as it's 100,000 win, and that's what you're going for. So we prepared just as much as they did. They put their pants on one leg at a time, and fortunately, we were the ones that walked out with a $100,000 check at the end of the night.
Do you feel an extra sense of pride at all because, you know, knowing that you weren't everybody's pick to win, you know, that obviously everybody, right, Stu, Matt Shepard, you know, these were the guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good anytime you can beat them. They're obviously, the best right now between the two of them. It's a cool time to be in modified racing because when you go out and you win, you feel an extra sense of accomplishment, and it makes you work really hard to do it. And you know, like I said, fortunately, we walked away with a big check.
So how what's your history with Barents? I mean, Jeff Barrett and Harry Barrett were, you know, important figures in OCFS history. You know, you were rocking the vintage scheme on your car for the weekend, which was awesome. I'm very excited that somebody embraced the history. One, you know, that we had a car in Victory Lane that had a vintage paint job on it. So how does where does that relationship start? I mean, when did you get hooked up with Barents and running for them?
My dad and Jeff and Harry have always had a big business relationship. And a couple of years ago, I think it was actually, you know, the beginning of last year, Jeff had mentioned to my dad that he wanted to put together a deal for the Short Track Super Series and wanted me to drive with him. So we started off there, went to a couple of races and ran really well. And then we did Eastern States weekend last year and ran good there. We felt like we had a pretty good car. It's kind of blossomed from there.
What was your best finish previous at Orange County?
We finished second in a weekly race in our own car there to Anthony Prego at the beginning of last year. We had some mechanical problems actually going on with the car and still ended up second. So that was pretty cool. But with Jeff's car, I think we've ran in the top 5 a couple times. I'm pretty sure. I'm not too familiar with it though.
Yeah, I'm not much of like a stats guy. Nothing stays in my head, so it's like I could have looked yesterday and I wouldn't remember what your second best finish was.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't tell you right now.
But it seems like, you definitely had a template for success, despite things changing drastically from last year with the track surface. I mean, in general, does the kind of feel of the track stay the same? I know it's like, every track kind of has a different layout in the turns and how wide things are and kind of is Orange County somehow, is there something about it that even if you change the surface, it still has this different feel from other tracks you've been to?
Not really. It reminded me a lot about Oswego.
Yeah.
When they put the clay down in Oswego, it's pretty similar to what Orange County is, and we've ran good there. So we kind of knew going into it with the surface changing that we would have probably a better chance at winning the race than we did years prior when the race was into tire wear and fuel. And there was just so many factors back, a couple of years ago on the old surface that when they took those away and made it more racier per se, I felt like it made our chances even better to win the race.
Awesome. Well, hey, I mean, I've always been a fan of racing in Orange County for years, and I certainly noticed its surface issues at the beginning of the season like everybody else did, and I didn't think last year was all that terrible, and now with this new surface, it's like, oh wow, holy shit! Last year it sucked compared to what we have now, and I didn't think it was so bad at the time,
Yeah, right.
I mean,
it's pretty cool right now, I can tell you that.
Now, did you think was dust an issue at all over the Centennial weekend?
No more than any other dirt track we go to.
Yeah.
The tough part's going to be that there's going to be naysayers that no matter what are going to say that they ruined the racetrack and that it's dustier than it ever was. But that, we are dirt racing. There's going to be dust. Those people, I think they got clouded judgment anyways. That no matter what they do to the racetrack, they're going to say that it's wrong. So unfortunately, there's people in the world that are like that. And from my standpoint, I think that they did a great job with the racetrack.
Cool. Well, I mean, who better to judge it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What else do I have for you? I don't know, man. I don't want to keep you all that long. I'm sure you're a busy guy. It looks like, we've been talking for almost a half hour. That's not too bad. Anything you want to put out there? Shout out a sponsor, thank somebody, or just anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, obviously I can't thank the crew that helped us out win the big race on the weekend. I can't thank them enough. Jeff and Harry and Joe, can't thank them enough. Darren's Performance, Sail Fast, everybody that makes it happen is pretty cool.
Awesome. Last question. What's that 100,000 doing? Where are you going? What are you doing? What's
you'd have
getting
to have
upgraded?
Jeff Barrett that because I don't. The check was in Jeff's name, so he would.
Oh shit!
He'd be the one to tell you that.
Did you get your cut at least?
Yeah. No, didn't get nothing. Thanks for fun.
All right. Well, I'll have to interview Jeff and see what his plans are. See what he's got going.
There you go.
But I mean, hey, whether or not that 100,000's in your pocket must feel like $100,000 regardless, right?
Absolutely, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to win a race like that, and happy we could get it done.
Cool. Well, Matt, thank you for taking the time. Look forward to seeing you run at Eastern States again, and I'll probably see you before that, right, for Hard Clay finale. That's kind of all the same thing, right?
Yep. We'll see you down there. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Matt, take it easy.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.
What's up, race fans? One more thing before we sign off. I just wanted to let everyone know that the Centennial Race Weekend's Friday and Saturday events will be available as a video on demand on our website, available soon. In the meantime, please go check it out on the website. Look in the main menu. You'll have an option there for on-demand video. Go ahead and click on that link, and that's where you can watch our 10-part docu-series that just got done airing on foxsports.com. So all 10 parts are available to watch there for free. They're around 10 to 15 minutes each. So it's like you got a little while to sit down and go through them, watch them from beginning to end. Really cool. Kind of tells the whole story of Orange County Fair Speedway, starting back in the pre-war era and working its way all the way up to now. Episode 10 features footage from the Centennial Race Weekend. So that's really cool. In the meantime, before the VOD comes out, that'll be a great way to kind of get a taste of what happened over the weekend if you weren't there, if you missed it, if you weren't able to stream it live. So go check that out, please, and see you at the races.